The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who's feeling a little batty. Call him Jacob.
Well, yeah, ouch! God, that always hurts. Why, thank you. Let me use our...
What did I tell you about using the cattle prod?
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
What do you mean you didn't use the cattle prod? You have a short circuit or something? As far as we know. Okay, gee, thanks.
It's okay. I know I have Tourette's disorder, but I don't spaz that much. Come on, really? Seriously? But why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who just feel like, why on earth did you let the toxic ooze have the treat again? Welcome, Drew.
I so want to quote I the news right now.
Do it. Go ahead.
If I can think of it. Oh, I know it. Oh, the things that I have missed. The Black Plague. The Spanish Inquisition.
Yes. The Spanish Inquisition. I love that line. Oh my gosh.
It makes sense. They're both ooze. They both were locked up for a very long time.
Yeah.
And some villainous people let them out. Technically.
That is true.
Technically.
That is so true. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I cannot wait.
Ivan Ooze did it better.
I agree. He did. Yeah. Toxic. Not toxic. No.
Hexus.
Hexus. Thank you.
You're thinking Toxic Love. That's
I am thinking Toxic Love, but Hexus, feel like is an interesting villain, but he's not a very good villain.
Apparently that song was a lot more suggestive in its original form.
You think?
With a name like that, yes.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyways.
Are you ready to go ahead and talk? Let's get into talking about this.
Well, before we do, because we did a review on Nate Marchand's show, Monster Island Film Vault.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago. I don't know if the episode's been released yet, has it? Where we did Power Rangers?
Yes, the Power Rangers episode.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. So just let you guys know we did that a couple of months ago. It's been out for a while, so you guys go give Nate some love on that show and listen to us ramble about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, where we talk gush about the
and then go check out the episode where me and Nate were both on
yes
Retro Rewind podcast doing the same thing, like literally 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, that was oh my gosh, that was what Nate described was, oh my gosh, be like, wow, that's a lot of Power Rangers in 1 week or couple of weeks. But
bear in mind, he'd been watching Power Rangers like
that's true for Power
Trip. All 29 seasons in a year.
Wow, that's an impressive feat. So yeah, go.
Yeah, 29 seasons.
Go do Nate some love.
Anyway, let's talk about Ferngully.
Yeah.
Certified fresh and spoiler free.
So here's the thing.
Okay, here's the story.
This is the story all about how Ferngully scared me as a child. And I watched it again, and I have no idea where I got scared.
I was halfway expecting, because obviously we're reviewing this for the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm halfway expecting you like, yeah, I turned it off. I don't know why. I just didn't like it so much. Be like, can we do another movie?
I wasn't gonna do that to you, man. You already pulled that.
Say what?
You pulled that on me with Chicken Run, dude. He's like, oh yeah, I just didn't like the movie.
I'm not recalling this.
Go back and listen to Chicken Run. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Not gonna get into that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But anyway, I just hit a wrong button over here.
Wrong button.
So yeah, I watched this and I think I know around what time, because it was after Hexus gets released.
And
I think it was just like as a child,
of course,
it was that pile of little things that just added up to like, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And things build up in your mind as a kid. You read too much into stuff.
Fair.
So I'm going to go with the fact that you've got Tim Curry voicing the villain and him getting released by a giant machine, very, very violent machine. I'm going with that as to why I got scared at this movie when I was a kid, because I watched this whole thing and I thought, this is nothing. I've seen far scarier films than this. What was I thinking? And actually, I will admit, it's about what I expected. It was a environmental movie that, while it wasn't really preaching, still fell into the traps most environmental movies fall in. I mean, and environmental movies for kids fall into. It's not bad if you've got positive memories, definitely go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not what I'm returning to.
I understand.
I'll put it that way.
I gotcha.
What about you?
So before that, because you mentioned something, well, we did Chicken Run. Go back and listen to that episode, Chicken Run. We did it in 2021.
Yes.
So go give that a listen. I
don't want to be a pie.
My gosh. Like, honestly, I forgot we did that film. I honestly did. So I forgot what what you said. I was like, did I say that?
You did it as a joke.
Oh, okay.
You were getting into like the main review, or the spoiler-free review, and you said, "Yeah, I just didn't like this one. It wasn't for me." And I remember doing that head turn. Anyways,
apparently I'm going to go back and listen to my own episode because I don't remember it. Well, that happens when you put out so much.
Right, I don't remember a lot of things. This is just one of the times that stuck out to me.
Either or,
because I wanted to kill you.
But yes, Ferngully, The Last Rainforest,
and Christian Love,
of course. Oh my gosh, yes. Inside joke if you guys don't know. Who came up with that? I can't remember.
I'm the one who said it originally.
You did. That's right.
I was angry at the cars on the road, and as normal, I talked to the cars on the road.
Yes,
and then remembered I was driving a church van and to try as a knee-jerk reaction. As soon as I got done being angry at the cars, I just said, "In Christian Love."
And it just stuck the entire time. Oh
I will never live it down.
No, you won't. You won't. But going back to my first viewing of Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, was when I was a very small child. Obviously, me and Drew are a little bit older. I'm a little older than he is.
We're only 2 years.
2 years. 2 years older. But I remember watching this film because my mom bought the VHS back in the day when VHS was a thing, people.
Ours was a rental.
I don't remember we rented it first, but we bought it.
From Movie Palace.
So I think we rented it first. Now, Grant, I'm fairly certain my father would say we never watched this film, but we did, because I remember very distinctly watching this movie over and over and over again as a child, really enjoying it.
One of those you wore the VHS out on?
Maybe. Well, no, we didn't, because we had so much of a big circulation of cartoons that we could watch. Because my mom bought like all the old clamshell DVD,
the white boxes
for Disney classics.
Yeah,
we had a ton of them, and then they got
the white plastic shell.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody who I'm not going to name, we let them borrow, and then they sold them.
Shame.
Yeah. Either or. So I watched this periodically through my childhood. Really enjoyed it. I loved the aesthetic of what was going on. Probably one of those influences when you're a young kid and influences you artistically, because it's beautifully well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just thinking back, like look at my little heart. I may had a little crush on Krista, maybe a little as a little guy. So that might have been a factor. You never know. So yes, I confess I may have had a little crush on Krista when I was a little kid. But overall, I remember enjoying this movie tremendously, and whenever we watched it. Now, as an adult, rewatching it, well, let's back up a little. Let's back up a little bit and go back into the Cellcast. Because when G-Kids re-released it, right?
Shout Factory.
Shout Factory.
It's the label is Shout Factory Kids.
Shout Factory Kids. Okay, that's right. My mistake. So Shout Factory
Kids tends to do the international stuff.
That is true.
This is technically a domestic film.
That is true. It is. So Shout Factory re-released it on Blu-ray last year, early like middle of last year, mid late last year, and I was dogged because I reported on it in the news for the Cellcast, and I was doggedly determined I'm gonna buy this movie, watch it again because I loved it as a kid, and we were at singles retreat where the In Christian Love thing happened. So me and Ashley went into Walmart. It's another funny story with the van issue with that.
Oh yeah, I remember. Every time we had to make a stop.
No, there's no AC.
He's looking for Ferngully again. And then that one time we were stuck at that Walmart there in
same Walmart
Gulch Springs.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the car turned off because we thought y'all were just gonna. Well, it was an old van.
Yeah,
and we thought
we never get
y'all were just gonna go in, get the ice, and come back out.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
We sit there for about a good 5-10 minutes, and I said, "Jacob's looking for Ferngully. I just bet." And everyone looked at me like I was a nut. Come to find out, you come up there. Y'all got the ice. It's not melted, thankfully.
No, it wasn't melted.
That would wait till the drive home.
Yeah. My gosh, yes.
That van was hot.
Yeah, oh my gosh, steamy.
And as soon as you got it, I said, "You looked for Ferngully, didn't you?" He said, "Yep."
Yep, I did.
I told you.
I bought it.
He's looking for that stupid movie.
I was determined to go find it, so I did. I bought it on Blu-ray. That's the version I bought, and I've watched it at this point, I think 3 times already. It'd be like, yeah, nostalgia's way back here. It'd be like, it's so firm, it's not even funny. It's like a root of a tree. It's not coming out.
I'm just saying, despite him not being a main character, there's a reason Batty's the one featured on the cover.
True,
because he's about the only bright spot in this film.
But like as an adult and watching it with new perspective as an adult and trying not to let the nostalgia root take hold, be like, I see the flaws in the film. I see that. Be like, yeah, it is very heavily preachy about environmentalism, which I mean, like,
even though they claimed they weren't being preachy.
No, they were claiming they weren't being preachy.
Telling a story that happened to be environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. They're going to be like, we should take care of our environment, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I disagree with a lot of what the story is telling, but like, it's a nice story. It's got beautiful animation. Do not get me wrong. It's got some kind of first in there. It's one of the first more independent films away from the big studios doing things. But I enjoyed the film for what it was. I see the flaws in the film, and I don't know, kind of torn. But I'm curious what your likes and dislikes are, because I kind of left myself open. I didn't write likes or dislikes. I just kind of, it's like, okay, let's free flow here. Let's
okay.
Yeah. So that is my unspoiler free review of Ferngully: The Last Rainforest.
Well, then let's just go ahead and jump into the spoiler filled section.
Mm-hmm.
The following is a spoiler filled review for the movie Ferngully: The Last Rainforest. Listener discretion is advised. Ferngully: The Last Rainforest was directed by Bill Croyer, who also directed a video named Computer Warriors.
Computer Warriors.
That was literally he only had 4 things listed on his.
Oh, okay.
One being Ferngully. The other 3 things, it's like, I've never heard of any of these. And it's like the one that sounded like the goofiest was Computer Warriors. Sounds like it ought to be a Power Rangers episode season.
It does.
It was written by Jim Cox, who also wrote the movie we watched last week.
The Rescue is Down Under.
Exactly. And it is based on the stories by Diana Young.
Oh, that's right. It is an adaptation, right?
It is an adaptation. Getting into the cast, we've got Tim Curry as Hexus.
Always good villain.
He is such a good villain that when Star Wars The Clone Wars needed a second out of 3 Chancellor Palpatines, they hired him for 10 episodes.
Yep. Because
he played Chancellor Palpatine Darth Sidious in that show during season 6.
Yeah. What's season 6 or season 5?
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Because I remember
they did not use him for his few scenes in season 7. They used somebody else.
Oh, okay. But I was going through Star Wars The Clone Wars, and when it got to season 5, obviously there's a shift, and it's like you hear Palpatine. It's
Well,
like, oh crap, it's Tim Curry.
The original actor who was playing Palpatine in that, which was not Ian McDermott. They used an entirely new cast,
of course,
for this, so they wouldn't have to pay expenses they wouldn't have to pay as much. And I'm thinking, yeah, you didn't have to pay as much.
Yeah.
And the first one guys is like, well, we need someone else. Who are we get? How about we get Tim Curry? Okay.
Yeah, Tim
Because
Curry.
you're sitting there going, and I remember watching that when I was going back through. I was like, that voice is different.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that voice sound better?
Sounds
that?
better.
Get to the credits. That's Tim Curry. No wonder he sounds better.
It's like obviously be like, watching the episode, I was like, that's Tim Curry. Because like immediately that's Tim Curry. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I totally heard it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if Tim Curry is the villain, anything he says is gold as a villain.
Well,
mostly, but yeah.
Let's moving on.
Yeah.
I really need a voice clip here. In fact, deal it.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
Where is that from?
That's from Command and Conquer Red Alert.
Oh my gosh. Yes. You'll get that clip in the audio version, people. You are welcome, patrons.
That's great. Okay, moving on. Samantha Mathis plays Krista, and she played Daisy in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Christian Slater played Pips, and in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he played Will Scarlet.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that film.
Jonathan Ward played Zach, and in Steel Magnolias, he played Jonathan Eatonton.
I keep hearing I need to watch that film.
I've not seen it.
Me
I
either.
don't know. But of course, we got Robin Williams playing Batty Coda, and he played Mork from Mork and Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, I'd be like, I've heard of Mork and Mindy. I've heard clips of it. Never saw it.
Nanu.
Apparently.
Grace Zabriskie as Maggie Loon, and she played the character of Dottie in Armageddon.
The movie Armageddon?
The movie Armageddon. She played a character named Dottie.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I could be wrong. I have to go back and watch that film again.
Anyway, Jeffrey Blake played Ralph. He was Wesley in Forrest Gump.
Oh, okay, a film I haven't watched in decades.
Robert Pastorelli played Tony, and he played Vinny in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Another set of movies I never saw.
Kingdom Hearts connections. We have one. Cheech Marin.
Cheech Marin?
Cheech Marin, as in Cheech from Cheech and Chong. In fact, both Cheech and Chong were in this movie.
What?
Yes.
Say it's not so.
Cheech was Stump.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming Chong was not far from there.
Oh, okay.
But in Kingdom Hearts, he reprised his role as Bonsai, the hyena.
I totally forgot about that. That is freaking cool. Oh my gosh, that's cool.
And that's what I got in the cast list. What we got in info and stuff.
All right, so let me get to info and stuff. Don't move. You're going to move anyway. All right, so for info and stuff, IMDb, that is a 6.5 out of 10. It's about average. YouTube, you can watch it on YouTube for free. Where did you watch it?
I watched it on YouTube.
Okay. I watched it
because it was free.
Disc. Okay, makes sense. I actually watched it early this time for a change.
I still beat you.
When did you watch it?
Monday.
I watched it on Tuesday. I meant to watch it on Monday, but I was having problems then. But either way, that's here or there. So production was Corey Films Incorporated, Young Heart Productions, FAI Films, distributed by 20th Century Fox Studios, now 20th Century Studios.
Except they no longer own the rights to this film.
Then who owns the rights to this film?
Shout Factory.
That makes sense.
That's why Disney didn't get the animation rights to this when they bought it.
That makes sense now.
Like they did every other animated movie that Fox had.
That is true. That makes total sense why it never came out with Disney. I wonder
Not
why.
that I can see Disney jumping on this one, to be honest, but
it's got enough of a cult following behind it that
Yeah, we'll get more into why when we get to the trivia.
yes. All right. So release date. It was released first here in North America, of course, on April 10th, 1992, and Australia in August 27th of the same year. Box office had an estimated budget of $24 million. Its opening weekend for the United States and Canada was a resounding $2.5 million on April 12th, 1992. Its US and Canada gross was $24.6 million. Its gross world was $32.7 million. So this movie did not do well in theaters. Be like, yeah, it made its money back, but for promotion and all that good stuff, yeah, it lost money. Home release, 4 months. Wow, that's a turnaround, definitely for 1993. 4 months after the theatrical release, 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment, under its previous name, Fox Video, released Ferngully on VHS and Laserdisc on August 26th, 1993, not 92, not 93, but 92. My apologies. On the sales were strong with an approximately 5 million units sold by 1998. That's really impressive. And also including 125,000 in Australia. Fox re-released the film on DVD in 2001 as Family Fun Edition DVD. Was released in 2005. The special editions included commentary by the director and art director. For its 20th anniversary, Ferngully was released on Blu-ray the first time on March 6, 2012, including the same features from the Family Fun Edition. Shout Factory released Ferngully on Blu-ray in 2022 as a part of its 30th anniversary. Sequel. Yes, there's a sequel to this movie. Of course.
It was the only other thing the company that made this made.
All right. So Ferngully 2, The Magical Rescue, was released on March 17th, 1998. Obviously, it's an American fantasy adventure film. Went directly to direct to DVD sequel of obviously Ferngully: The Last Rainforest in 1992. So yeah, that's about all I've got.
All right, then let's jump into the summary. Krista is a fairy of curious nature who lives in Ferngully, a picturesque rainforest free from human pollution. The fairies of Ferngully once lived in harmony with humans, but believed them to have gone extinct after having been driven away by a dark spirit named Hexus. Krista is an apprentice of Magi, a fairy who imprisoned Hexus in a tree. One day, Krista explores a new part of the forest and meets Batty Coda, a bat who claims to have been experimented on by humans, giving him a manic and deluded personality. However, fairies refuse to believe him except for Krista, who volunteers to investigate the situation. She meets Zach, a young lumberjack whom Krista accidentally shrinks when she tries to save him from being crushed by a falling tree, though does not know how to restore him to normal size. Zach believes Krista to be hostile, but gains trust in her when she saves him from a hungry goanna. These are not Joanna's lumberjacks. Sorry. The tree that Hexus is imprisoned in is cut down by Zach's supervisors, Tony and Ralph. Hexus quickly begins to regain his powers by feeding on pollution. He manipulates Tony and Ralph to drive to Ferngully. In Ferngully, Zach meets Pips, a fairy jealous of Zach's relationship with Krista. Zach begins to fall in love with Krista, but hides the true reason that the humans have returned. When the signs of Hexus's resurrection begin to manifest themselves in poisoned trees and rivers, Zach finally admits that humans are destroying the forest. The fairies mount an attempt to defend their homes, knowing their fight is hopeless. Zach convinces Batty to aid him in stopping the machine before it destroys them. When Zack makes his presence known to Tony and Ralph, Hexus takes over the machine and begins to wildly destroy the forest. Maggie sacrifices herself to give the fairies a chance, and she tells Krista to remember everything she's learned. Zack manages to stop the machine, depriving Hexus of the source of his power, but he manifests himself within the oil in the machine and begins to ignite the forest ablaze. Krista sacrifices herself by allowing herself to be devoured by Hexus, and all seems lost until he begins to sprout limbs and leaves like a tree. Pips and the rest of the fairies rally to the powers that have been given, which causes the seed that Krista fed Hexus to start growing wildly. Hexus and the machine are both simultaneously imprisoned by the newly grown tree at the very border of Ferngully, which bursts into bloom. Krista appears after the fight, having survived, and succeeds Maggie as a magical fairy. She gives Zack a seed, begging him to remember everything that has transpired, and she forlornly restores him to his human size. Remembering the seed in his hand, Zack promises to remember his adventure and buries the seed in the soil before telling Ralph and Tony that things need to change as they leave the forest behind them. The seed sprouts new growth for Ferngully, and Krista playfully chases Pips with Batty following. Getting into the trivia for this one. FAI Films, which only ever produced Ferngully and its sequel, was acquired by HIH Insurance in 1998. HIH closed in 2001. In June 2012, administrators for HIH placed advertisements trying to sell the rights to both films. On November 11th, 2021, Shout Factory announced a deal with Machine Media Advisors, stating to be the owners of the rights to Ferngully for worldwide distribution rights to the film. Also, some reviewers have commented that the 2009 James Cameron film Avatar plagiarized thematic and plot elements from Ferngully, though others have stated simply one of the many films that Avatar is similar to, or have dismissed the comparison entirely. The 2013 film Epic was also one said to have an original plot similar to Ferngully.
I can see that.
The Ferngully forest depicted in this movie was based on Australia's rainforests. The cartoonists who worked on this movie spent time in the real rainforests to help inspire their drawings. Notice I used the plural there, rainforests.
Yeah, there's multiple. Apparently
Which means
5.
Ferngully's not the last one.
Yeah, there's 5 of them,
I'm
actually.
just saying the film is lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the original lyrics to the movie song Toxic Love, performed by Tim Curry, had obvious sexual themes and implications, and various verses from the original song were cut or rewritten to make the song more appropriate for a family movie. The original lyrics can still be found, but the song's full version was never used. This is Robin Williams' first role in an animated movie. Later, he'd go on to voice Genie in Aladdin, Fender in Robots, Napoleon Cross in Everyone's Hero, and Lovelace the Rockhopper Penguin and Ramon the Adelie Penguin in both the Happy Feet films.
Oh, okay.
The movie was dubbed into Spanish entirely. In Spain, it was dubbed into Spanish entirely by comedian Angel Garo, a single-handed feat that earned him entry into the Guinness Book of Records.
Wait a minute.
That's what I'm curious of this myself.
He recorded all the lines.
That's what it sounds like.
Wow.
I want to hear his Krista. One guy records the entire movie. Talk about a one-man show.
Literally. That's like some
audiobooks.
Audiobook recorders do that. It's amazing. This sounds interesting. I'd love to hear that someday.
Robin Williams provided 14 hours worth of improvised lines for Batty Coda. Director Bill Croyer was so impressed with his voice work that he ended up tripling the screen time given to the character, which was originally only supposed to be an 8-minute role.
Wow. Can we get that now, please?
Sir Elton John's first involvement in an animated feature. He composed and performed the song Some Other World during the credits.
That's right, he did.
Tim Curry's original voice recordings were so eerie and sinister that it made children cry during test screenings. Curry had to be called back in for some less intimidating retakes.
Give us those! Come on! That sounds perfect! Man!
And just to get you into some of the things that were happening around this time between Robin Williams and animation history.
Yeah.
Shortly after signing on to this film, Robin Williams was approached about voicing the Genie in Aladdin and accepted. When Jeffrey Katzenberg, then chairman of Disney, got wind of this, he demanded that Williams drop out of Ferngully, claiming he did not want Williams in two competing animated films being released so close together, to which Williams angrily refused. According to producer Wayne Young, Katzenberg went out of his way to sabotage Ferngully, such as taking over studios the production had rented by paying more, and in one case attempting to buy a space to force them out of it. This is often cited as one of the main contributing factors in Robin Williams' well-publicized fallout with Disney.
That makes sense.
Because I can see him seeing this as a more important film than Aladdin.
Yeah, because it was his first animated film.
This is his first one, and this is more of a.
Come on, Katzenberg.
I mean, Aladdin is in many ways just kind of good fun.
Yeah.
Well, this is an environmental movie. This is important.
Yeah.
Aladdin's just fun. I can see that being the thought process.
I can see that.
But
also,
time,
it's
Robin Williams was very, very at this time was very pro not advertising to children.
Yeah.
Which is why when they kind of sold Toys of Genie, he also got mad.
Yeah, and also that was
part of his agreement with Aladdin is that he wouldn't sell toys.
They wouldn't sell toys, and his character's image on the posters wouldn't be a certain percentage, like 15%.
Right.
But the entire posters, it was just Genie.
Because Genie is 9/10 of the film.
Exactly. That's what makes it. Yeah,
he does such a good role.
Yeah, because we reviewed this film. So yeah, go back in the vault or the podcast vault and go
back there somewhere.
It's back there. Go back there and listen. It's a really good episode.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay.
So what's your first like for this film?
My first like, it has beautiful, I'm talking beautiful backgrounds. Beautiful background paintings. There again, be like, this was a independent company outside of Disney or Warner Brothers or anything like that. It was strictly just they were doing a passion project, and they put a lot of heart in this film. You can tell. But the backgrounds are they're not Disney level backgrounds, granted, but they're beautifully done. Be like, it's one of those where if you could get like a poster, one of these, and put on your wall, it'd be beautiful. Like, definitely for like a studio, that'd be amazing. Definitely for an art nerd like I am. So yeah, this was be like, the backgrounds are amazing. They're beautiful. Like every background, because there's so much detail in every background. Like it's not like uber, like you can see every stump and every little nugget going on, but it's beautifully done. So yeah, the backgrounds are amazing.
I'm going to jump off of that one, actually, because I mean, like you said, this is a passion project.
Yes.
And you can kind of tell that in nearly every shot of the film.
Oh yeah.
The backgrounds are beautiful. The animation is beautiful. It's a very beautiful film.
Yes.
In its animation. So yeah, that's my first like also.
Okay. My second like would be Batty Coda. Batty Coda, there again, kind of dipping back into my childhood, my nostalgia for this film. Batty Coda was oh my gosh, this is a cool character. Like, oh my gosh, he's crazy, he's goofy, and you realize later he's Robin Williams. And it's just his journey from being an experiment, which is always terrible. You don't experiment on animals, you experiment on people.
He was a biology experiment.
He was a biology experiment. I agree. I completely agree. But yeah, just be like, I understand, science is important, but don't harm animals in the process. Just saying. Anyways, that's my Animal Wars. Nevermore.
There's not a raven in this.
I know that. That'd be cool if there was, but there's no. Are there ravens in Australia? There might be. You never know. But Batty Coda was like, he was just like, oh my gosh, wacky zany character that you instantly got drawn to, and I think Drew kind of applied to it. He's probably the most interesting character in this story, and I would agree with you. He's the most interesting character in this story. That be like,
I don't know if interesting is the word I'd use.
Okay.
It's just he's probably the one that looks like he's having the most fun.
I agree with you. I agree.
Robin Williams,
to an extent, yeah.
Robin Williams is always the kind of person who gives 110%.
Yeah, agreed.
To every role he does. And so that translates here, because you can tell Robin is having the time of his life behind that mic, and he's having a good time acting as this character.
Yeah.
I feel it. I'm not saying everyone else was not, giving their all in this, but some of it does kind of feel like they're holding back because they don't know how to act as a voice actor.
Yeah, I agree.
And don't know how to have that energy, or they just don't, or they're intentionally being held back by the director. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But Batty Coda as a character, I think, is a very interesting character because there again, you're dealing with an environmental story, which there again, environmentalism to an extent. I'm not talking extremism. I'm talking be like, yeah, let's not cut down all the trees. Let's not murder everything, because the Bible doesn't tell that we are the overseers of the world, that we are to make sure it's not, mucked up. And in some ways we have done that in some capacities. I'm not into climate change, but be like, just take care of the world. That's all I say. Take care of your world and the Lord will take care of us. Just saying.
Being a good steward.
Thank you. That's a better word. Being a good steward of, what God has provided for us. So yeah, Batty Coda, really great character. There again, this is Robin Williams' genesis into becoming the genie, the iconic character that he voiced in Aladdin.
They are very similar characters.
They are very similar characters because Batty Coda does do impressions of popular characters or popular figures at the time. And it reminds me of one during the Aladdin recording that someone runs into a room. It's like, oh my gosh, he's doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. Robin Williams during the recording of Genie. And I guarantee they probably did the exact same thing. Oh my gosh, she's just doing this. Like, can we put this in here? No, we can't. Well, darn. But how many hours did you say that Robin Williams did? It was like, what, 8 hours?
I'm looking. Where was that in here? I know I said it.
Yeah, you said it. I think it was like 8 hours.
Something like that. Oh, 14 hours.
14 hours. Okay, I was wrong.
Sorry, I was looking past it every time.
That happens. So 14 hours of recordings. That would be amazing. Shop Factory, get on that. Give us special edition.
Assuming you have access to those.
Yeah, that is true. That can get mired up in legal and
maybe they don't have those masters anymore.
You never know. That's true. That is true. Anyways,
that's the more likely thing. Is Shout Factory is really good at releasing stuff if they have it, and if they're legally allowed to.
True, but yeah, Batty Coda. I always loved Batty Coda as a character, and as an adult, I really enjoy his character. I'm not going to say he's the most fleshed out character. He's probably.
Well, he was only meant to be on screen for 8 minutes.
That is true. They fleshed out his character a little more throughout the course of the movie.
So I mean, they fleshed him out, but I mean, it's like they were building off of almost nothing because he just has. I mean, he probably was also one of those big-lipped alligator moments, like the Goanna is later.
Agreed. It's like, oh my gosh, we love this performance. We got to give him more lines, and you see that throughout movie history where someone will give a performance. And I can remember it was a more recent something that it's like they loved their performance so much they gave them more and more lines. Yeah, and it just made the character more iconic. I think it's what made this character more iconic than anything. And there again, it's the genesis to Aladdin's Genie, and that's what if we did not have Batty Coda, we would not have.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I've heard it said like that, and I think I agree with it to an extent because that gave Robin Williams it
may give him the inspiration for doing all that.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know what the original concept for Genie's character was before they got Robin Williams really into doing it.
Well, far as I understand, during the research for that episode, go check that out in your favorite podcast directory or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our episode on Aladdin. This, I think it was that I think someone did say that if it wasn't for his performance as Batty Coda, Robin Williams probably would have never done Genie. But there again, I might be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal.
It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, Batty Coda, amazing character. I love his spontaneity of split personality, like wrong channel. Love that. That was great.
Mhm.
But I really enjoy the character of Batty Coda. What is your second like?
We apparently are of similar mind tonight
Pardon me.
because Batty Coda is probably one of the other things I like about this film.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I think the issue is we don't really get a lot of it, and you can tell most of it was unplanned. Not thinking, yeah, a lot of it was improvised. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's
But I
Robin
mean,
Williams.
the character was not intended to last more than 8 minutes, and you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
Because I mean, after his main scenes, he's just there commenting.
Mm-hmm.
The
Agreed.
scenes don't really involve him that he's in after that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a great character. I like the character.
Of course.
He is funny, but this is the same problem I think I have with like Bartok. He's the same kind of character as Bartok in Anastasia,
Okay.
where it's like this is a character who's there to kind of be comedic relief, but he's not gonna really do much because the story's not focused anywhere near what he is.
I agree. I agree to an extent that yes, he is very much a comic relief character. His goofy song is like, to me, has always been kind of hysterical. But
The Batty Rap.
the baddie rap is kind of funny to me. But yeah, I agree. Be like, obviously, be like, it's that Bartok kind of situation where he's in the background. But I think Bartok as a character had a little more emphasis.
Bartok's character had a little bit more thought put into it and keeping him present in the story.
Yeah.
Batty, for the most part, like I said, after his main scene, you can kind of tell he was kind of shoehorned into more scenes so that they could keep having Robin Williams do stuff.
I agree.
I don't think a lot of that would have been he wasn't planned for most of the parts of the script, and they didn't do much to rewrite to put him in. They're still there. Don't get me wrong, and they still incorporated, but it just feels like some of those scenes that he's in could have took place without him in it, and there wouldn't be that much difference.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the character. I think Robin Williams does a great job. You can tell he's having the most fun on screen. But I mean, he's yeah.
So I'd be like to kind of go back a little bit with Batty's his character arc. His character arc is a story. So when we meet up with him and he's introduces Zach, and he's scared of Zach because he's human.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has these built-in I don't want to say triggers, but
Antennas.
He's got antennas.
Literally got an antenna coming out of his head.
Yeah. But his encounter with humans have never been a good thing. So he's very wary of Zach, and he's always be like, yeah, I can arrange your demise very easily because he doesn't like him. Obviously, he's a human.
Yeah.
But over the course of the story, be like I want to call him Bartok now.
Sorry.
But Batty Coda kind of he grows on Zach, and by when we I can't talk. But first, when Batty won't let him fly on his back, won't ride on his back because he's human, and that's kind of a
I can see why he doesn't want him on his back.
Yeah, obviously, because he's got all this built up problems with humans. But by the end of it, be like they become friends. They become friends, and he's willing to sacrifice himself in order to achieve the goal.
I'm not saying he doesn't have character development.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
It's just it sounds like I'm talking bad about it because this is technically my positives, and I'm complaining about the character and how he doesn't get enough role.
Yeah,
I think that's what it comes down to. He doesn't get enough role for how he's used.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he's actually one of the better characters, I think, in the film.
I agree.
But I just wish we got. I kind of wish we had more baddies when he comes right down to it.
Agreed.
But I'm glad we got what we did, especially since he wasn't originally planned.
Yeah, or at least not like his role wasn't expanded. Wasn't originally expanded.
I mean, admittedly, if they realized how good Robin Williams would be as a voice actor and how funny he was going to be enough to want to expand it, and they didn't realize this until the recording session, there may not have been much they could do at that point.
Probably.
So, anyway,
So that was your second.
That was my second. So now you're your third.
My third. Tim Curry as Hexus. I'd be like, there again, like Batty, he doesn't really have a whole lot. Be like he's menacing in the background. When you finally see him, he is like, from a kid perspective, terrifying as a character. I will go into my disagreements on Hexes later. Dislikes. Thank you. My dislikes later on the character, but his overall menacing presence throughout the film, that he is spoken of in a reverent fear throughout the entire film, and then we finally do see him, who he is and what he's up to, and I mean, like, I enjoy the overall dread of this character, who he is. And there again, I'll get in my dislikes later, a whole lot about that character. But yeah, Hexes, especially he's voiced by Tim Curry. Tim Curry as a villain, either in live action or voiced, is menacing in a lot of ways. I don't think I've seen a film yet where he's not a menacing villain in any movie yet. I might be wrong. Be like, Drew may have watched one, was like, it was okay. But have you?
The only movie I think I've seen where he kind of only had like a meh role was that very small role he had in Hunt for Red October, but he gets killed early on, so he doesn't really have much chance to do anything.
Who did he play in Red October?
He was the political officer.
Oh,
on the Russian sub.
Okay, yeah, he had a really short.
Yeah, he dies really quick.
Really quick. Okay, got it. Okay, gotcha.
So he doesn't really have time to do anything.
No, he kind of goes, snap, gone.
It's like 10 minutes and you're out.
But either or, okay, I gotcha. Haven't seen the movie, but I know the character.
Yeah.
Anyways. So yeah, Tim Curry as Toxic or Hexus, as Hexus in this film, is a really menacing character in the background. And when he pops in the scene, like, yes, visually, he's very terrifying if you're a child. Be like, oh my gosh, this toxic is everywhere. It's kind of frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely with, toxic love and all these other elements, be like, it's got this very good atmosphere of dread that, oh my gosh, this terror is coming back. And I enjoy those elements of the character, and I'll get to my dislikes in a minute. What's yours?
I actually like the animation effects on the fairies when the fairy powers are being used.
I agree.
It has I call it the anime glow because anime is the first place I remember seeing it.
Fair.
But it's got that little gel glow that sometimes it's sometimes you behind the cell, sometimes you can see the power move through the cell, especially when they're flying. I thought that looked really nice. It was a great way to show that kind of lightning bug-esque look to it. Plus, I liked how you could kind of tell the difference between the fairy magic and when Zach starts being able to feel the pain of the forest himself.
Oh, yeah,
but the colors are different because he's human, so it's it's his human magic, I guess.
Yeah.
Allowing him to feel that because his is red while the fairies are all blue.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. I thought they animated that very well.
Well, I think with
although I think his was blue at the end of it.
Yeah, his was blue. I think when Krista touched the tree that had been
the pain
cut down,
that was more
it's red.
Pain, but
it's red.
Anyway.
It's more pain. But yeah, I totally get that. It'd be like the effects in this movie are done very well. Definitely for a movie made in 1992.
Yeah, 92. We kept saying 93 earlier.
Yeah, we kept saying 92, but it's 92.
So it's 21 years old.
Our mistake.
31 years old.
Yeah, anyway. 30 years old. Jeez, I feel old now. Anyways, but yeah, that's awesome. That is really cool. I didn't think about that, but that style of animation there again, it's celluloid, but it's done very well.
Yeah, like I said, I call it the anime glow because the first place I saw it was in Dragon Ball Z.
Fair.
With their energy attacks, and this is the same technique.
Yeah,
but done a lot more subtly because it's meant, it's not meant to be energy blast that's blowing people in half. It's just showing the fairy glow.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
What's your first dislike?
My first dislike. Hex is an underwhelming villain.
I'm gonna jump in on this, and I'm gonna go take it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tim Curry is criminally underused in this film.
Oh, agreed.
But anyway, do your part, and then I'll come in on mine.
My be like, as a kid, oh my gosh, terrifying villain.
Oh yeah,
and as I was a kid, I was like, it was a little bit weird. So you have this menacing villain who has all this allegedly all this amazing power because he's toxic. He's the toxic that destroys the world or something like that. Be like his like I said in my likes, be like the mythos and the lore and the terror this character brings is really interesting. But when the character is actually shown, he doesn't really do anything. He literally just boasts and brags of it, like, "Oh, I'm going to destroy Ferngully and blah 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 blah."
You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Smoke from Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding.
It's about that underwhelming.
Yeah, because I mean, like it's
because it's never explained why he wants to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no explanation. He's just. I know I talked about last.
He's the villain. That's it.
I know I talked about last week that I want to see more evil for evil's sake villains.
Yeah,
he's not an evil for evil's sake villain. He's just evil because he's evil.
Yeah,
there's literally not much more thought put into it than that.
Yeah,
it's like he is evil because he's the spirit of pollution.
Yeah,
it's like, what are you, anti-Captain Planet?
Pretty much.
Captain Pollution.
Captain Pollution.
I think that's what the character's name was on that show.
Yeah,
when they had the evil, all the bad guys use their
or the
pollution to have their powers combined.
Yeah, the opposite Captain Planet. Yeah,
the same type of character. It's like you are stupid.
Yeah, agreed. It's like when he finally gets in the Ferngully, he's cutting down all the trees. Agreed. Not a great thing to cut down all the trees, but but like he shows up, he's menacing, he's in the leveler, which I think the leveler design is very well done.
It is.
But
I like the design of the leveler.
He's so easily dispatched. It's not even funny. But like, yeah, the animation is great, but he's so easily dispatched. There's nothing really like, it's like, oh my gosh, he's going to destroy everything. But it's simply, we have the power within ourselves to do this.
And literally, it's all it is Zach goes in and turns the keys on the leveler.
Yes, that's it.
And I'm going, and I remember thinking, when at first I was like, oh yeah, no, of course it's this easy. It's just a machine. It's not like he's magically powering the machine or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
The machine's just on and he's feeding off of it. That's all this is. So of course, all you have to do is turn the machine off and it stops and he no longer can eat off of it.
Yeah, it's just this idea that like he's built this character that is very powerful. He's going to destroy everything, but simply he's just using the leveler as his power source. And when the key is simply turned off, he goes poof, and he uses the remaining energy of the truck, the vehicle, to make himself big and bad. But then he's easily dispatched again.
Now, granted, had Zach not been there, they still would have taken out that tree, and the fairies would not have been able to figure out how to shut it off.
I agree with you.
And that would have been catastrophic, but because the human was there, who know how human stuff works,
exactly,
he was able to shut it off.
I agree with you there.
So I guess this is the first time where we've got human ex machina.
I guess so.
Human in the machine.
Literally. But yeah, it's the sad underuse of Tim Curry as a villain.
And not even a good villain.
Not a very good villain at all. Like, yeah, he's menacing, but he really doesn't do much of anything outside of using other devices in order to do his plan.
Yeah.
But there's it's not, oh my gosh, I'm going to destroy everything. And there again, it's a force. It can grow back.
And here's the thing. His character is literally supposed to be an ooze.
Yeah, literally an ooze. He's not Ivan Ooze.
No, it's not Ivan Ooze. But and I get you that you want to keep him like liquid-ish.
Yeah.
To keep him amorphous, like an amorphous blob.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have seen liquid or amorphous blob-like characters who actually had a character design besides a slime.
Yeah.
And
you
could have done some cool things with this character where he could have pretended to be like the foreman or the owner and was telling them in the rig, go to Ferngully. I have questions as to how these guys knew where Ferngully was.
Yeah, exactly. How would they know Ferngully?
It's like, I thought that was the fairy name. I
Yeah.
think that was the actual name of the rainforest.
Yeah.
The humans would know, but they could have done some interesting things with the character,
Mhm.
but they keep him so much of an amorphous blob. He's not really he's a threat, but he's not a villain. He's like the personification of the symptom, for lack of a better term.
That makes sense.
He's the ooze and he is feeding on it, but all he does is suck on that stuff and tell them to drive the thing around. And somehow it's implied he's polluting the rivers, but it doesn't explain how, unless it's just the spirit of pollution.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
It's the problem I have with most of the 90s era environmentalist things is that pollution is the enemy. We must stop pollution. But because pollution is a number of things humans are doing to the environment, it's hard to show that within one character without it being ridiculous.
Yeah.
And all they did here to try and do it was, we're going to make him a blob. He's going to be black, oily sludge.
Mhm.
And how are we going to make him an evil character? We'll have Tim Curry voice him.
There we go.
And Tim Curry doesn't even get a chance to do as much in here. I would love to see the original cuts of those lines.
Yes.
Because that might make the villain creepier.
Yeah. He's creepy already in some capacity because it's Tim Curry.
But this take, it was like, you're here, but it just sounds like somebody gave you some melatonin there, Tim Curry. I said Tim Curry, and that's no one.
Carrey.
But
There's
anyway,
probably a Tim Curry somewhere.
well, I mean, yeah, it's like that's not. You know what I mean?
I understand.
I combined Jim Carrey and Tim Curry.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem.
That would be interesting.
Anyway,
But yeah, toxic Hexus as a villain is very underwhelming. As like he's literally just like you said, the personification of pollutionism and
pollutionism. I like that.
pollutionism. But yeah, just thinking off the top of my head. But yeah, it's just like he's not be like if you're building a character up like that, you need like when he shows up, be like full tilt villain. Yeah, like he's got this like maybe agenda against it, except be like, yeah, he got trapped there. Here's the question, because
give us the Snidely Whiplash mustache twirl kind of a villain here,
something like that.
Just
and also like when Gaia, I can't remember her name. What's her name?
Which one?
The mother figure.
Oh, Maggie.
Yeah,
Maggie Loon,
Maggie, whatever. Yeah, she's narrating the beginning and like, oh, Hexus is this. Be like, never really describes what Hexus is, except he's a plague upon the earth or something like that. And I sealed him away in a tree thousands of years ago. Like, okay, he's supposed to be toxic personified. Well, like toxic thousands of years ago.
I mean, that tree he's trapped in does look like an evil tree. So I mean, his evil has seeped into that tree.
Yeah, I agree. And here's another
maybe
thing.
that's the problem: is all his evil got sucked into the tree, and now he's just hungry.
Yeah, he needs another source,
Yeah.
and the Leveler is a great source.
Well, and I kind of get the feeling, especially with the name of his song being Toxic Love, he's supposed to be a seducer of sorts, like seducing the men to do all this extra work.
That would be interesting.
Into polluting, because it's easier just to do this instead of, following actual rules about stuff. I mean, okay.
If he was
here's the thing.
Go ahead.
The way he gets them to go to Ferngully.
Yeah.
He hacks into their radio, basically.
Just push the button inside. Why?
He talks to them in English.
Yeah. Which is
and
weird.
They do not question why this voice they can't have ever heard before.
Yeah, exactly.
Is telling them not only to go to Ferngully, but to work double shifts and overtime. And they're happy about that because they're getting overtime. I get that. But at the same time, even in the 90s, it seems like they would be wanting to make sure that was someone that was actually had the authority to tell them they could go do that.
Exactly.
And not because, I mean, how do you know who's on that radio? Tim Curry never said who he was.
No,
he didn't say he was. He didn't even say he was the foreman. He says, "I want you to go to Ferngully, work extra, work overtime, work double shifts. Just get there by morning." And it's like, A, how do they know where Ferngully is so
Yeah.
they to go there? B, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
C, you are not all. They are going to get in tons of trouble because they thought they were getting overtime, and they're going to get back, and there's going to be
They're
a
gonna be
search.
sadly disappointed.
They're going to be a search team out there looking for this machine because they didn't report back on time.
Right.
You've got 3 missing people
Mhm.
in this. At least 3. There's actually 5, actually,
Yeah,
because there's 2 other people who are at the beginning, but they disappear once Ooze comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Once Tim Curry's character comes out, and Hexus, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Hexus.
And no one questions
No.
any of this. It's like, dude, if I thought something was strange, I would bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
I would make a call into a foreman. I would say, what I would, or at least want to know, who are you to authorize this?
Yeah. Here's a good idea. What if
And that's just a weird plot. It's like they accept this and assume this is all going to work for them. And obviously, these people don't have a union.
apparently,
Which I'm thinking, aren't there a lot of these places require you to be union, like outside of the U.S. for a lot of these industrial jobs?
probably.
I know the U.S. is not there, but still,
Yeah. So here,
especially in not third world countries. I assume Australia has got unions out the wazoo. I don't know.
probably.
I don't really know.
So here's my idea: that if a better idea for Hexus would have probably been more like a devil
Yeah, like maybe he was messing with their minds. Say, yeah, this sounds like a good idea.
like temptation and
Yeah,
money and that kind of
tempt
stuff.
them into doing all this stuff. And
Yeah,
saying,
because it would make sense.
instead of saying you've got to go to Ferngully and if you're in order to make it their time, just do double shifts. And it's like, why would they listen to you? But if you had gone in there and said, hey, maybe it's a good idea to move this thing towards Ferngully and just do double shifts until you get there,
Or
because
here's the directions go there.
know that they're going to want to tear all this whole forest down eventually.
Yeah.
So it's not
you'll
going to
get
be, you'll get
overtime.
overtime, you'll get bonus pay,
Mhm.
you're going to be doing good work for the company. Do something like this instead of go destroy Ferngully. Why? Because I'm Tim Curry.
Exactly. Because the idea of a devil allegory of as a character would have been so much better. Because it'd be like he's tempting everybody, he's telling everybody all these wonderful, half truths about everything. And I thought that would have been an amazing idea for a character.
Don't get me wrong. He is a very slimy villain.
Oh yeah, very slimy.
But at the same time, he is dependent on those humans just doing this because they want to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
have him possess the darn machine and kick them out, and then he can go take over Ferngully. Why couldn't he do that? He's sludge.
That is true.
He is magic sludge. He has to be able to take over a sludge making machine to make it more powerful. Just do that.
Yeah. Well, in a way,
you still have to take down the whole thing, and that still allow Zach to go in there and turn off the keys to stop the machine.
That is true.
Because it would still have to be on for him to take over and run it. And maybe the guy can't control the ignition switch.
Yeah, because it would make more sense if obviously he's starting to infect the machine and taking control of it, where the guys were like, hey, I didn't do that. Or something like simple little things like that would have made the story a whole lot more easy. And then you get to this big reveal that he's actually become the machine, and or he's taking full control of it, and you can't stop him.
I would feel better about getting scared at this movie as a kid if that's what happened.
Oh yeah.
But no, this villain is just like, toxic love. I like the sludge. I like that the humans are giving me all this stuff to eat and making me more powerful. I'm thinking, you are not powerful even with the sludge, because you can't do cotton picking thing without the machine.
Exactly.
You are nothing.
Yeah, you're
you don't even show us. You are supposed to be this big magic villain that the fairies barely stopped.
Mm-hmm.
You do not show that you are actually capable of what those stories said.
No, that's true. It's very
you are not worthy of the fear we saw in Maggie Loon's eyes.
Yeah.
When after Chris left and she looked out at that smoke, you are not worthy of that fear.
Yeah, agreed.
There, you are just a blob.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for Tim Curry for having to voice you.
So yeah, that is my first dislike, is the lack of a word, just it's not a good villain.
No.
It's a good big and bad character in the background pops up. Not really that great of a villain. And you have Tim Curry, great voice actor, just kind of underused. It's sad,
Pretty
really.
much.
It's sad, really. So yeah, it's my first dislike.
Technically my first dislike too.
Mhm.
But I'm going to go ahead and jump in on the second dislike since we kind of talked that one out.
We did.
You're going to tell me that you have A, Tim Curry, B, Robin Williams, C, Cheech and Chong, and you couldn't make a fun movie out of this for the good guys? This movie is so underbaked. That's the nicest word I can use for it.
Okay.
It's underbaked. It's got a lot of good ingredients, but the center is still gooey.
Okay.
It could have been excellent, but it feels like production on it was rushed. A lot of changes were made at the last minute. And all of these great performers outside of Robin Williams were not used very well to their fullest extent. Good night. Cheech Marin does a better job as Bonsai in Lion King than he does as Stump in this. And the only reason I know he's Stump is because I wrote the name down. And I vaguely remember someone calling one of the other fairies Stump, one of the bratty teenager ones.
Yeah.
And I assume his friend was the one played by Chong. I don't remember. But it's like you've got these big name actors. You've got and it just feels like you rushed the whole thing. All the songs in this are, for the most part, not useful in terms of storytelling. They feel like, oh, this is kids because Disney makes musicals for all their animated films. We've got to be a musical too. What musical are we going to be? Or are these songs going to tie into the musical? No, it's just we got to have musical parts because that's what people expect. Okay, so we'll have some big name singer, I can't remember the guy's name, play a goanna and have him talk about, oh, he's going to eat you because that's what he does. And that's how we'll have Zach's life be put in danger.
Yeah.
And then we'll never see that character again.
No.
We'll have Batty do a rap, which I know you like the rap, and I think it is a good Robin Williams thing, but in terms of its usefulness to the plot, it has none.
Yeah.
The love song and the one at the very beginning in the introductory song, I can't remember their names.
Yeah.
Those work, but because they are the only two songs I think that actually did work.
Yeah.
Because none of the other ones, it feels like I would have preferred them not have them at all.
Okay.
This is that pile of little things issues where it's like the movie for the most part is fine, but it's all these little things are adding up to things to it being nothing I want to come back to.
Okay.
Because like I said, it's underbaked. It's still gooey in the center. The outside is cooked. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great things to see here, a lot of good stuff to bite into. But once you start really getting into the story, it's like, ooh, what is this? This didn't finish cooking.
Okay, I see that.
So yeah, my second dislike is that the movie didn't get finished cooking.
Okay.
What's your second dislike?
My second dislike. You said it a second ago, and I was like, "Ooh, good point. I want to go on that." And then for some reason, obviously, my little ADD brain went, "Ooh."
Was it my talk about the songs? Was it my talk about the good actors being underused?
I think it was something to do with the songs around that. Let me see if I can, let me
cut back into that.
Yeah, let's see if I can pull that into it. What was it? Oh yeah, Batty song. Batty rap.
You said you liked it.
I did like it. I did like it.
It's funny, but at the same time, it's useless.
I agree. It is kind of useless. It's fun. It does tell kind of a story of like what happened to Batty and stuff. But he already explained that. Why he did that. But the song itself. So the director himself said this is the first use of computer generated art. And I just lost a word. Computer digital digital coloring in the film. You can
Bull.
obviously, huh? Yeah. Oh yeah, I completely agree.
Because last week we reviewed Rescuers Down Under, which was the first film to
Fully.
use the cap system, which was a digital coloring machine.
Yes, and I agree.
And by all technical accounts, Little Mermaid did it before any of them in '89 with a couple of test scenes that did make it into the film.
I agree. And like this, I mean, like it's what more defense to the director, probably just more like first independent company you do that.
Yeah.
But nuance. There's such a glaring difference between they're using the digital coloring method, which they're probably using caps. And some
No, they're not using caps.
Oh, yeah,
that
it's
was
caps
Disney
strictly Disney.
proprietary.
Yeah, it
Disney
was strict-
proprietary.
Yeah.
But this would be a similar system that is essentially like caps. But
yeah, because it would be like it would have been developed in like the late 80s.
Yeah, because Caps itself was developed by Pixar for Disney.
Yeah.
And I doubt they would have let that go out to other companies.
I agree. So you have the scene where it's digitally colored. It's like it's one of the first nuanced ventures into that. Disney did first, and they're trying to copy Disney, which at the point everybody's trying to copy Disney.
Everyone always tries to copy Disney.
So the scene where
especially at this time period.
Yeah. So you have the entire scene where Batty's doing his rap, and it's all digitally colored. You can see it very plainly, very easily. And when it switches, it is so apparent. It's literally when Batty stops singing and Krista stops him, you literally see the digital and traditional switch. And it's so jarring. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Because it goes from a different hue to like different sheeting and the whole bit. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it's cool. You used it for that scene, but then you transition back into traditional coloring, and it's so just like jarring for like artistically. It's like, yeah, it's cool. You used it, but oh my gosh. But like Krista goes from one color palette to another. So does Batty and everything else in the scene, just because they use the digital coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And it threw me for the biggest loop in the planet. I'm like, what in the world? Because the first time I saw it as an adult, when I watched it on the Blu-ray, didn't see it. Well, I saw there was a difference. And then I saw the second time, I was like, okay, that's a little bit odd. So for the review, I was watching it a little closer, because that's what you do as a reviewer. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Because like, even I'll be like, I'll get into my third in a few minutes when you done your second, but
my third,
when you get into your third, but oh my gosh, that threw me for the biggest freaking loop on the planet. I was like, really? Like this is be like, did they digitally, they obviously with the Blu-ray, which I have, the 30th anniversary, they cleaned things up significantly. It wasn't so grainy, but it's still grainy in some places, but nuance. But yeah, what the heck? That would throw me for the biggest loop. So yeah, that's my second. Like, be like the transition between digital and traditional just was like jarring, because it was the color hue was so off, and like literally Chris's hair went from a nice sharp black to like a dull black. And like, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, hold on. My artistic mind went, whoa.
It's the difference between going to from pure black printed onto a cell.
Exactly.
Going from that to hand painted cell.
Yes.
There is a difference.
A huge difference
in color.
And be like, even
you are
like
going from one layer of ink for every bit to multiple layers because of how it had to be shot.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's like, that was so jarring to me as an artist. I was like, whoa, I understand what you're doing, but it was way too jarring. So yeah, that's my second, like the awkward, the severely awkward transition. So what's yours?
This is a dull film.
Okay.
I have a rule. I brought it up a lot of times during Bad Movie Month. Do you remember what the rule is?
If you can't be interesting, if you can't be
good, be interesting.
That's right.
This movie is not that interesting.
Okay.
It's got some good things about it. It's got a lot of great animation. It's got a lot of great it's got a good characters that I don't think are as utilized as well as they should be, but it's still good. But for the most part, if you're talking about the story, it is as dull as a sack of rocks. It is a banana rotting on the side of the road. It is just dull and uninteresting for me. This sounds like a cop out, I'll admit.
Okay, fair.
Because I was just like, oh yeah, it's like saying it's like when we did Totoro and we said, oh yeah, the whole movie's good. That's just a like in and of itself. It's like I like that the movie exists. But and this is kind of the opposite of that, where it's like, I just wish this movie was not a thing. Because it's just so it's got some, like I said, it's got some interesting parts, but it's like for the most part, it's like I could skip this one. There's nothing here that makes me would want to put it in bad movie month. I'll put it that way, but it's not that great a film.
Okay.
And consequently, I may be voting it rather low when we get to ratings.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a dull film.
Okay. My third and final dislike. It is okay. So we had Princess Mononoke. I think last year for Miyazaki.
Was that last year or 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay, 2 years ago then. So 2 years ago.
That was the last of the big environmental ones that Miyazaki really did.
That one, but like Miyazaki does movies very well.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful film.
Beautiful film. Be like it's definitely environmental, kind of talking points. This movie takes it and takes the to use more of the crucifix hammer over your head.
You're saying it's beating your head in with its point.
Yes, it is. It is so preachy about the environmental. Now, granted, I'm not saying that be like the like saving the environment is a bad thing. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I am saying that this movie is so heavy-handed on its preaching on environmentalism that it literally, I'd be like, I know it's the point of the movie. I totally get that.
Yes.
But it is so like just pound you over the head. And like as a kid, I got it.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those where be like,
let's put it into perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Last week we reviewed The Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah, it was very much about poaching.
It was about poaching. It was talking about the evils of poaching. They showed how evil poaching was.
Yeah, agreed.
And you want to know why we liked that better than we liked this, even though it was just as blatant in what it was trying to tell you.
Of course.
It was subtle about it showed the effects, but there was never a point where it's like it's hitting you upside the head with a 2x4.
Mm-hmm.
The closest you get is when they're in the cages with all the other animals, and the koala's going, "You'll get out of here as a leather wallet. You'll get out of here as a lovely lace purse." It was funny.
Yes, it was.
And as a kid, you don't quite catch it, but it still hits home. It's like, yeah,
it does.
These animals are going to die for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
That was the point of it. It's still an environmental story about not going out and killing things and hunting them to extinction. There's a reason that George C. Scott's character, whose name I just forgot. McLeach. There's a reason he lives out in the desert where there's been already too much extraction of stuff with all the abandoned opal mines.
Right, agreed.
This movie, it's like, oh, how do we know there's evil? Well, there's an evil spirit smog monster who's attached to this giant lumberjack log eating machine.
Yeah.
And they are going, and it's essentially like a kaiju for fairies.
Okay.
That's attacking the town. You've got to stop it. Otherwise, the whole world's going to end because pollution is wrong.
Right.
There's nothing about, you didn't really make me not want to not pollute.
Right.
Captain Planet did a better job of making me not want to pollute than this film did. And this, I think, was not as subtle as Captain Planet's.
No. This was so...
Or Captain Planet was more subtle than this, is what I'm trying
Captain
to
Planet
say.
was so much more subtle because, one, they're grinding that in entertainment. This is more...
This is epic bad.
Yeah, this is a great epic bad.
in terms of how preachy it is.
Yeah, very preachy. And be like when you come at a film, either if that's I know I'd be like, I know people who love Christian films. I know that. A
Yeah.
lot of people.
We're friends
But
with them.
We're friends with people who are very huge. Oh my gosh, goes to every Christian film there is ever made. But a lot of these films are so heavy-handed on what they're preaching about. And it's not simply just preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. But no, it's preaching how evil atheists are and how they want to destroy everything about your life. Or be like only good people do this, or only good people do this, that kind of thing. Like, that's one thing. Be like, if you're trying to tell a story about humanity's need for salvation through Christ, that's one thing. But when you're trying to get preachy about certain political topics or something like that in your movie that is so overly handed, it's pounding you in the head, that's when the movie gets a little annoying. And this is where Ferngully goes. It takes this environmentalist slash nature worship, spirituality, one with nature, that everybody has the power. Be like, it's not He-Man and Masters Universe, but we all have the power. It's like, no, this is not Shazam. Like, we do not have the power of the universe. Be like, yes, if we combined our powers together like Captain Planet, but this movie just hits you over the head over and over and over and over again with it. And it's just like, by the point, like, reviewing this film, it was literally giving me a headache. Not figurative, it was giving me a headache with like over the top preaching about environmentalism. And like, again, we live in a modern world where climate change is the big topic, which we're not here to talk about, but it has that ring of it, has that ring of environmentalism. And that's what, global warming, global cooling, whatever. But we're not here to talk about politics. But this movie is just so overhanded with it. And I'll be like, there again, we are here as stewards by God to take care of this planet. In some cases, we have done some not so good things.
Yeah.
But it does not mean that humanity is absolutely horrendously terrible. And obviously, Hexus he's a toxin, so he comes from humanity because obviously the planet would never do anything like that. And so it's just like the machine is terrible. And it's like, yeah, like, it's so overhandedly preaching over environmentalism, and that we should come together and use our special powers because we're all one with the universe, or to like, oh, we have this universal truth, whatever crap. I'm sorry, I might get a little preachy here.
I think you're reading a lot into this that I didn't see into this film.
I am. I know I am. But it's like, sorry, I've been watching a lot of theological stuff right now, but it is, that sounded like a lighter, but it wasn't a lighter. But it was just, this movie is so preachy. I'll be like, there's one thing if you're preaching a message and you're not like Captain Planet, you're doing something that's cool, but you're trying to teach kids something good that maybe they should learn, not pound you over the head figuratively to where it hurts. This is where this movie fails. It is way too overhanded. And side note, the fact that Hexus got trapped in another tree inside the I want to call it the Devastator, but it's not Devastator. Whatever this machine's called, whatever the stupid machine's called. Hexus is not gone. You just trapped him again in a tree.
Yeah.
That does not mean the company who owns this big machine is going to come out here and dig their machine out and release Hexus again. That's what the sequel should have been.
Well,
But
I think the idea is that Zach is going to somehow go back and stop people from polluting and not tearing down the rainforest. It's like he's just one guy who literally left the job, and the company's not going to listen to him because profits.
Yeah, exactly. So this idea that like, oh, we stopped Texas just with the power of the forest and the power within. No, you didn't. You literally the exact same thing Magi did 1,000 years ago.
Just delayed him.
You just delayed him again. You did not destroy him. Because if you would have said, "Well, to destroy pollution," would have been XYZ. That'd been great. But no, it's
Well,
not.
I mean, it's not like they could have killed him because I think that takes away from part of the point of his character.
That is true.
Because pollution's not going to go away till we
agree.
stop polluting.
That is true. That is so true. And
So at least they get that part of it. But at
Yeah.
the same time, how does locking him in a tree keep him from polluting?
because he's still got the machine underneath him.
They just say they trapped him in a tree.
They
There's
trapped
no
him.
sealing. There's no magic seal put on this. It's just somehow the tree grew up through him and that was it.
Yeah,
It's
that
like,
was it.
so, I mean, he's not like under some magic shield to keep
Yeah.
him there.
And
There's
there's also Magi's sacrifice.
Your magic is dumb.
Your magic is dumb.
That's part of the issue here. Your
Agree.
magic
It
is dumb.
Dumb.
Put some more work into your magic, people. You can't
Yep.
just say, oh, it's magic. It's fairy magic. That's all you need to know. It's powered by the magic of love and goodness and blah, 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 blah. It's like, this is not the last freaking unicorn.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
You've got to give me something decent to work on to explain how your magic is stopping him from coming out of this tree.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's
It's all
stopping
within our
you?
hearts, kind of the crap.
And besides that, here's a dumb question that I just thought of.
Okay, what's your dumb question?
Why is Ferngully so far away from Hexus's tree to begin with if they're trying to keep an eye on it?
That is true. Because Magi obviously knew where it was.
Magi
She
knew where it
doesn't
was.
tell anybody.
She doesn't tell anybody. She's obviously she never hadn't gotten around to telling her apprentice yet.
Apprentice.
And it's like you get the feeling that they are in charge of that whole forest, but at the same time, they act like Ferngully is the forest, which is only in this one spot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like the whole forest, and none of you knew this thing was in the area until Krista happened to see a smoke in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You get the feeling that they've been doing this work for months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're telling me you just now notice it's there, and it didn't occur to anyone to say, oh, hey, maybe we should keep a lookout at the obvious evil tree to keep the obviously evil creature from getting out.
Exactly.
None of this thought to cross your mind.
Yeah.
And by all of that sense, why do there appear to be only about 15 fairies that live in this community?
It's a small community.
I get that it's a small community.
I would
But
say 15. There's probably a couple hundred, maybe.
I didn't see a couple hundred.
Okay.
The most there is more than 15. I'll
Okay.
grant you.
Okay. Fair.
You go. I'll give you that simply because of the scene where they're all spinning around in that fairy tornado thing while Maggie Loon sacrifices herself somehow.
Yeah.
I'll give you that much.
Fair.
So there's more than 15, so there may be 100, maybe
Okay.
150. But at the same time, why do they only live in this one area? Why are they not spread out over the course of the entire rainforest? Why is this
What- more
one
communities.
spot the only place where there is anybody?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It would be one thing if their forces were so devastated from when Hexus attacked 1,000 years ago that they're just now getting back to these levels, and thankfully the humans haven't gotten this far into where this rainforest is. I can maybe see that, but at the same time, it's like you never said that. You just made it sound like, oh, it's the last magical rainforest. It's a magical place. That's why it's special.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
And humanity has
despite the
discovered
fact, despite that humanity has not ever been back there, humanity knows where it is because they didn't have to give directions to Tweedledee and Tweedledum in the
because
lumberjack machine.
Oh, we know where Ferngully is. It's like it could have been like, oh, here's GPSs. Be like, here's a
Yes.
GPS system.
You could have said, hey, take a left, go straight that direction to the big, giant, obvious rainforest trees.
Yeah.
But no,
Right.
that's not what you did.
No. Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Let's go ahead and rate this thing and move on
let's
because
move on.
we're getting late here.
Long in the tooth.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm giving this a 6.
Giving you a 6. Okay.
I just don't like this film that much. Like I said, it's not
Fair.
bad enough.
Fair.
I want to rate it below 6, but I'm not returning to this, and I still consider 6 a fail.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 7 and be like, there's a lot of really good stuff about this film, but like overall story and like there again, it's a children's film, and
That's no excuse.
there's no excuse with that. But be like, you gotta understand. Be like, and I'm trying to justify everything. I'm trying not to, but like the story's weak, the villain's weak. Be like, it's got interesting points here and there as a story. I've loved this film as a child, but I think if the child me was rating this, I would probably give it a 9. But as an adult, as a serious reviewer, I'm giving it a 7 at least. Be like, I'm almost floating between a 6.5 and 7, so just give it a 7 in general. It's worth a watch. It's gonna pound you over the head. It's got great animation. Its environmental story is gonna beat you over the head. And it's not very well fleshed out as a story, and your villain's extremely underwhelming. But I'm giving it a 7.
Next week, we have a special episode.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, the last Friday of every month, we are doing either a Cellcast Rewind, where we look at the previous movies, or we're doing the Cellcast Plus, which is where we're actually going to be looking at some live action movies. And we did put it up for a vote. Y'all voted for Glass Onion, A Knives Out Tale.
Yes.
Or Knives Out Mystery. Yeah, Knives Out Mystery. That's the subtitle. It's on Netflix. So go if you're interested, go watch it there before next week. And I believe we may have a special guest.
We may have a special guest
coming on. Kind
of a reunion in a way.
We bet you're dying to watch.
Yeah.
To quote another movie.
So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that. So we'll be reviewing Glass Onion next week. We're going to jump into the intermission right quick, and then we're going to get into what we've been watching, news, and of course, X-Men.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Stunning and Brave, where each week hosts Chris Cowan of the Babylon Bee and Nate Henderson of Some Boring Budgeting Job confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right.
You have no choice.
Check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, Book of Gaming, PaulJPowers.com, and Melanie Dubois.
To get your name on the show, plus uncut episodes, early access to the Cellcast Plus reviews, and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
All right, Jacob, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What have you been watching?
All right. So what have I been watching? Quite a bit, actually.
Oh, you actually watched something this week?
Yes, actually a lot, actually. Kind of digging back into my childhood with a few of these. Well, actually one. I think most of them I did not watch as a child. Let's see. First starting off, because there again, me being a child of the 90s, Image Comics was a huge thing. I didn't read Image, but I obviously remember it, and I've been a huge fan of Jim Lee. And there was a title, yeah. So there was this title he did was called Wildcats, and so at some point it became an animated series. So I watched Jim Lee's Wildcats episode 1. It wasn't very good. Let's be honest, it wasn't. It was very early 90s.
Oh, you're lead into that.
Yeah.
Like, I watched the Wildcats. It was this great comic book put out by Jim Lee. I watched the first episode. It's not any good.
Well, let's just say I never read the comic. I'd be like, I like the art because obviously I'm an art nerd.
Right.
But I was like, this is the story. They made a cartoon out of this. Okay, this is kind of dumb. So yeah, I watched that. It's free to go watch on YouTube. I'd be like, I watched it. I was like, nah, not for me. So, and then I watched something that I'd only heard of because I like following toy collectors on YouTube. So they kept talking about this cowboy, not cowboys, but Cowboys of Moosa. That's another one. Didn't watch that one
Yeah,
yet. But
that's a thing.
Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. This was a show that came out in the like early 90s. Never heard of it until like a couple of years ago, listening to toy collectors talk about it. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is a cool show. It had a really cool toy line because apparently it's humanity's kind of fallen to the wayside after a nuclear war or whatever. And there's some technology, but it's people based in tribes and there's dinosaurs. But so yeah, it's a guy who drives around in a Cadillac and protects other villages through, negotiations and kind of stuff, and protects them from the dinosaurs. And apparently he has a pet dinosaur. So
because of course.
And so I watched it. I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. I was impressed. I was like, wow, where was this in my childhood? Oh yeah, probably on not on the 3 channels I had as a child.
Right.
But so yeah, I watched that. And then a show I did watch as a child, Biker Mice from Mars.
Of all the things.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Biker Mice from Mars was the show that
this is one of those I know of.
Yeah.
I've never watched.
Oh, okay. I remember watching Biker Mice from Mars as a child. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Definitely the mouse with the cybernetic arm. I always thought that was really cool. And there's a lot of inspiration with my art with that. But I watched the first episode. I'm like, it's definitely like it's got the Captain Planet kind of thing, environmentalist. Some evil aliens have invaded Earth and they're disguising themselves as human and taking human resources back to their planet Plundar or whatever it is. Yes, that's a Thundercats reference. But yeah, the biker mice they crash land on Earth and they find their mission to save the planet from these evil lizard characters. So it's an interesting story. It's very 90s, like extremely 90s. But it was fun. And then let me think. I finished Toradora on Netflix. That was something. The first arc of this show was very good because it's teenage drama. It's people falling in love with each other, but they don't know they're in love with each other. Blah 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 blah. And I think some ruminating over the story, it makes more sense now. But the first, I'll be like, I get from the last 3 episodes, are like, what the crap are you doing? Because it's finally our 2 characters. Spoiler alert: 3, 2, 1. Our main characters are actually in love with each other. Surprise, surprise.
No, really?
Did you finish this?
No, I only watched 3 episodes.
Oh, okay. I'll be like, it gets better.
I could tell.
Yeah, it gets better. It gets better, but the last 3 episodes are like, what the frack is going on? Because it's like the 3 characters, like the animation style drops in like the second half of the season. And it's like, what in the world's going on? But it picks up here and there at the end. But the ending is so weird. It's like our main characters, they're in, spoiler alert, these characters who begin to realize they are in love with each other. They're in these teenagers. Be like, teenage love, it's fleeting sometimes. So these characters are in love, and then all of a sudden be like a mother character who came out of nowhere, she's only mentioned once, is berating one of the characters of how terrible she is, and then his mother shows up and how terrible he is because he's doing this, and they kind of run away because they realize they're in love with each other, so they're going to elope and all this stupid stuff. I'm like, understand, but like, okay, logically, from a teenage perspective, okay, understand that, but realize the situation isn't as bad. And then it's such a weird ending. And I don't want to spoil the end for you, but I'm talking the end of the show. It's like, oh, and then like one of our characters disappears. We don't see her again until the end credits. And everyone's be like, oh, she's going to be within our hearts. Oh, she did this for a good reason. Really? If you watch the show, if you know what I'm talking about, you're like, what the frack? So yeah, I finished Toradora. It was a little underwhelming for its conclusion. It was interesting. It was an interesting story, but the ending was like, what the fudge? So yeah, I finished that. I also finished something else. The Hunt for the Red October. That's a good book.
Oh, the book.
The book.
I was like, you just said earlier you've never seen the movie.
No. I'll be like, I need to watch the movie, but the book, oh my gosh, that's so good. I finished it. Yeah, highly recommend Tom Clancy's The Hunt for the Red October. Very good, very good book. Definitely, if you like, spies and it's by the end of the book, I am convinced. I'm not convinced, but I want a replica of a nuclear
vessel,
not a nuclear vessel. I'm not Chekhov.
You want a Russian sub?
No, a Russian sub
with a caterpillar drive.
It's not anyways.
I'm quoting the movie.
Yeah, you are
with a very bad Russian accent.
Yeah, but in the book, it's not a caliber. I think it's different than a caterpillar drive.
They call it a caterpillar drive in the movie.
Okay, but it's good. And then there was a part of me, I really want a replica of a Russian nuclear launch key, because I'd be like, for me, I've got this weird idea in my head, so I looked it up. It's just this little thing. It's interesting, but the thing be like, there's a line which Jack Ryan says. It's like he pulls out the nuclear key. It's like, yeah, I have something in my hand that could kill 80 million people in an instant. I was like, whoa, that is
I ain't trusting you with that.
No, of course not. Of course not. But I found that fascinating. It's like, wow, that was incredible. That was an incredible book. If you haven't read it, go read it. And eventually I'm going to wind up watching the movie because I think I own it. I think there again, I bought a lot of movies. I don't know what I have. That's sad, isn't it? So,
first world problems.
Yeah, first world problems. So, and then there was, so I've talked about this show extensively very early. I think last year, Netflix's Masters of the Universe Revelation. It's so polarizing. It's not even funny about this show. And so I decided to be like, you know what? I liked Mark Hamill's voice as Skeletor. I thought it was fantastic. And so I went back and watched the first episode. I was like, this is still good. I really enjoy it. Now, granted, there's probably a lot of people out there who hate this show to death.
Oh, there's people who hate stuff just because they want to hate stuff.
Exactly.
Like me, Skeletor.
Oddly enough, the original voice actor.
I'll get you, He-Man, and your little dog too.
You mean cat?
Whatever.
Cringer.
Go back and listen to that thing from our first year.
Oh my gosh, yes. Meanwhile, at Castle Grayskull.
Castle Grayskull. That is the stupidest we've ever been on this camp.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like that was so priceless. Yes, go listen to that. I think it would be kind of cool if we went back and revisited it.
We could not do that. Was lightning in a bottle.
No. I'm not saying that, but we'll talk about it later. But I really enjoy that series. I think they're in the process of working on a sequel series. Might be a little shorter, but yeah. So watch that and also reviewed a couple of episodes. I don't know if we need to talk about that in the air or not. For a certain lizard. Big lizard.
Not yet.
Okay. So yeah, watch something. Can't really talk about it right now.
I mean, I talked about watching Godzilla Monster Wars last week, so
that's true. Yeah.
You can talk about that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Gotcha. So yeah, I watched Godzilla the series. There again, I remember watching it when it first came out. I was like, this is weird. And so I understand. I understand some people really enjoy this series. I understand that.
You're not one of them.
Okay.
More on that when we're on another podcast.
Yeah, another on a podcast. But I thought the stories were interesting. Let's just say that. So yeah, that's all I've been watching and listening.
Going over the things I have been watching first. That you already know about. Because I've been slowly working on them. Gekiso Sentai Car Ranger. That show is I'm starting to get to where it's just fun, you know?
Yeah.
It's goofy. I know it's going to get goofy. There are elements of an ongoing story,
Right.
but for the most part, it's just goofy fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's all, and that's all I really want out of this series.
Right.
Also, watching Mandalorian season 3, aka Grogu and Friends season 4.
So just a quick side note before we went on air.
I showed him the clip of Jedi Master Ahmed Best.
I was
Actually, he has an official name because because this character actually has appeared before, like in like kids educational stuff, and they officially added him into. I just don't remember the character's name.
Oh, okay.
But Ahmed Best plays him there.
Yeah.
So
I was like, when he told me this, because there again, I am not caught up
Misa
with
Jar Jar Binks. Misa want to be your friend.
right.
Misa gonna save Grogu from the Jedi Temple at Order 66.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yes. So
This is the only time you're ever gonna. No, I may have to do Jar Jar later.
yeah, you can probably Jar Jar later, but like eventually we will get to the Clone Wars. Eventually.
Oh, I already have the Clone Wars episodes planned out.
Wow. So
Now that I've actually gone through and watched all 7 seasons, yeah, this is a good show.
So
Especially the last 4 episodes. The Siege of Mandalore.
Okay. Gotcha.
You're about to tell me you haven't watched this.
I
yet,
haven't
aren't you?
watched it yet. I think I haven't watched it.
I have no room to talk because I only saw it last week. But
I think I watched it. I may have. I don't remember.
there was a
It's
point.
been a while.
There was
But
the great part about the Siege of Mandalore, since it takes place at the exact same time as Revenge of the Sith does, they go ahead and tell you, oh yeah, by the way, this is happening over here. Be aware. And so there's a point going into the 3rd episode where you can cut the tension with a knife.
okay.
It is that thick. And it's like, when are we going to hear Palpatine say those 3 little words that we, in a way, don't want him to say with these characters? Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Execute Order 66
Yeah.
is a traumatic thing within the context of Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith.
Agreed.
It's a lot more when you know half the characters
That is true.
that are going to now fall into this, including a one Commander Rex. And I'm watching this whole thing. We've got spoilers if you've not watched this, because I got to get into this a little bit. It's one thing. You've got Darth Maul locked down in a containment unit that's designed to hold Jedi, because of course the Mandalorians would have one of those because they fought Jedi in the past.
Yeah.
And most of their stuff is designed for attacking and defending against Jedi. So you've got Darth Maul locked up in this thing in the back of this. You've just left Mandalore with all, Bo-Katan and all them back there. You see this quick flashback because Ahsoka gets a vision of the events that are going on in the Emperor's office.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She gets a quick vision. We hear some audio from that.
Okay.
And it's like, and I'm sitting there watching this going, when's it going to happen? Oh no, it's going to be this part where there's so many clone troopers on this platform that right where they can get her. This is like the worst part. Oh no, she gets on the ship. It's fine. Okay. When's it going to happen? Okay, we're in space. Is this going to do it? No. We're going to wait till we get into hyperspace and then execute Order 66. And the thing is, it's at the most anticlimactic point.
Yeah.
It's like the tension they do it right when the tension dips. It's like he feels like you should be safe.
Yeah.
And then almost as if it's just this really weird thing. Just as Ahsoka's entering the room where Rex is getting his report, from Coruscant. Just as she opens the door, you hear execute Order 66. And I'm going, what the crap's gonna happen now? And then the next hour, good night, is so much. I don't want to spoil what happens.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say there's a point at the very end, bear in mind, we saw Anakin and Obi-Wan at the very beginning of this.
Okay.
Just long enough for you to go, oh yeah, here's the stars of Star Wars, the Clone Wars. By the way, they're now going to leave and go save Palpatine from General Grievous.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to see them the rest of the episode. You're just going to hear reports every now and then. Oh, you get a little hologram of Obi-Wan Kenobi at one point, but you're not seeing Anakin ever again in this show. And you think that's where it's going until, not to spoil anything, but let's just say we are on a planet at one point that's now covered in snow.
Oh.
It's not Hoth.
Okay.
Because we saw why we know why they're on this planet, because they're coming across the graves of all these clone troopers.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've heard of this scene. I've heard of this scene.
They don't even you hear this. You went, he's here. It's the first time we've heard it in the series. He's here. I mean, it's not the first time we've heard it, because there's a couple other times when it's epic foreshadowing. But it's like, but you get there's no he doesn't act. The Anakin actor's not voicing this, doesn't voice Darth Vader in this scene, because Darth Vader doesn't say anything. It's all done in silence, except for sound effects. And there's this point where it's like, just in the animation of this character moving, you see everything going through Anakin's head without them showing anything, just in the animation of the character walking through, looking at what's going on, seeing a lightsaber on the ground, and you can just feel everything Anakin's going through, especially if you know what happened on Coruscant.
Yeah.
You're going, oh, wow, this is so good. Now I'm going to watch The Bad Batch.
What is it, Rebels?
Bad Batch is the next one chronologically, because literally Bad Batch starts off during Order 66.
Oh, okay.
Because you've got to deal with the fact that
Bad Batch than
the
Rebels.
Yeah, the Bad Batch, because they're clone troopers.
Yeah.
They have to go through Order 66 also. And while they hear the order, none of them actually get affected by it.
Interesting.
Well, one does. The obviously evil looking clone.
Oh, okay.
But and so most of that is how they are living now in this world where they're not wanted and are now technically fugitives. It's a good show.
Okay. Gotcha.
Looking more forward to watching that. So there's 2 shows right there I've watched this week.
Okay. So just more catch up. Be like, there again, I have not finished the Clone Wars. I haven't even seen anything from Bad Batch. I've seen a little bit of Rebels. I have obviously seen season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. I have not seen the Book of Boba Fett. And obviously I am not caught up with season 3 of Mando. So that's a lot of Star Wars I do not have all the information for.
And Andor. Andor. You forgot Andor.
I haven't seen Andor.
I haven't watched Andor yet either, but I've heard it's good.
Okay. Continue.
Backing up where I was. See, I've watched Mando season 3. I finished Clone Wars. I've started Bad Batch. Watched Car Ranger, trying to catch up where I am.
Right.
I actually watched some more Ultraman this week.
Okay.
Because, well, here's the thing. The reason I'm watching Car Ranger is probably not going to come up until mid-May. I'm guessing.
You want to be prepped.
I want to be prepped. But the thing is, I realize I'm halfway through the series.
Yeah.
At the beginning of April. I got some time.
Yeah.
I can slow down a bit, because if I keep going, I'm going to be done in 2 weeks.
Right.
So I decided to slow down and watch some Ultraman. A tokusatsu of a different flavor, basically.
Right.
And I've realized that between Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and Ultraman, I can't pick one that's better than the others. They're all, I like them all for different reasons.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Other than that, just a bunch of weird random YouTube videos.
Fair.
That's about it.
Okay.
So, Jacob, what do we got in the news?
Okay.
Good night.
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you, Neelit. And
I am actually curious if you've got one I found.
okay. Well, the
But
only
continue.
one, the only one I found was that Crunchyroll announced today that the English language dub
This was
cast.
the one I had.
That's what I thought. Because I knew you would be
The
like,
minute you said Crunchyroll, it's like, I already know what you're talking about.
so be like
The new Makoto Shinkai movie.
Makoto Shinkai. Thank you. Just be like,
It's
I'm
going to be in theaters on April 14th. The week after Super Mario Brothers. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. Be like, I love your enthusiasm about this film. And there again, we have reviewed Makoto Shinkai
We reviewed 2 other Makoto Shinkai
We have
films, being
Your
Your Name and Weathering with
with
You.
you, which are both very good films.
And now we've got, what is this? Suzame?
Suzume, yeah.
Suzume.
Yeah. So
Makoto.
Makoto Shinkai. Nah. I am terrible with my own language. I'm terrible with other languages. Makoto Shinkai's animated feature Suzume. Yeah, Suzume. Set to debut in theaters in Australia on April 13th, and the United States, Canada, UK, and Ireland on April 14th.
The dub is playing in Tyler.
Ooh, reaction, anybody?
And it's playing in IMAX.
Ooh. Review. It's like, yes.
I knew I could say those couple special words and you'd be on board.
Yes, reaction to this movie will be coming.
One way or another.
It's like, yeah, we might be skipping.
We may have to skip an episode and come back.
Maybe. But
Because with our current schedule, the only time we can to react to films is on an episode where we have to review another film. So we'll figure it out.
yeah, either like we'll do one on like a Saturday or something like that. Something like that. Because I get. I'm pretty sure my wonderful, lovely girlfriend will understand.
I'd be curious if she'd sit through one of these with you.
She probably sit through Mario. She likes Mario.
No. I mean, like a Makoto Shinkai.
I have no idea. It'd be interesting.
I don't think she liked Weathering with You, to be honest, because I don't think she liked how it ends.
Fair. But hey,
because I don't like how it ends. I just find the film beautiful.
Agreed. Hey, we can figure it out. But yeah, definitely we'll be reviewing this movie, or not reviewing, but doing a reaction to at some point. But it's like, yeah, we'll do that. Was there anything else in the news that you could think of?
That's the only thing I had.
Oh, okay. So
And
yeah,
literally,
that was the big one.
Literally, you want to know when I found it out?
What?
While you were sitting there waxing poetically about what you didn't like about Tim Curry's performance,
Yes.
I was just listening to you. This is going good. I was just double checking through Facebook. And I just come across this ad of this girl stepping through a door. And I see, oh, it's Crunchyroll. This isn't a right weird news thing. April 14th! I thought we still had months to go on this.
I thought so too.
Good night.
I saw that trailer. It's like, oh my gosh, it's that movie.
I still have no idea what it's about. And what's great is I don't have to know what this is about to know. I want to see it.
It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be a beautifully animated film either way. And
it's the art nerd in me. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to go see this film.
That's the thing. I saw Your Name because people wouldn't shut up about it.
Yeah.
In a group.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into this.
Yeah.
And then we were getting ready to do Weathering with You right before COVID hit.
That's true.
And all I knew about that movie was the name, because like Weathering with You. So the weather's going to be involved.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't really need to know the rest of it because I know it's going to be a pretty film anyway.
Mhm.
This one, I don't know what a Suzumi is.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what this film's about, other than
something about a girl.
There's a girl going through a door, and there's a weird cat-like creature.
So yeah, interesting. You got me hook, line, and sinker.
You had me at April 14th.
So yeah, we will be doing our reactions to
that at a later date.
At a later date. So yes,
we'll get that figured out.
Yeah, but isn't it a limited run in theaters?
Yeah, I think so. But it looks like it's a. Here, let me look it up, because I could see the.
Of course.
I think it's a couple weeks actually.
Okay.
Or a couple days.
Wow, that's a
it's
change.
Crunchyroll, aka Funimation.
Yeah.
AKA, remember how long Superhero was in theaters? compared to
That's right.
Fathom events.
It's not Fathom events. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. It's actually going to be in theaters.
Sony is putting it in a theater because Sony owns Crunchyroll. So
okay, so we have time to actually go watch
we have
it.
some time.
It's not a 2 to 3 day limit.
It may not be in the IMAX theater that long, but
yeah,
I don't even know if it's going to be in the IMAX theater at our local theater. But
yeah.
Anyway,
all right. So yeah, that's all we have for the news. And but like, unless you guys know something else we don't know, comment down below.
Indeed. So why don't we go ahead and talk about some X-Men?
Previously on X.
Meet the sulky, over bulky, kinda hulky superhero. Twisted and electrically transistored and exotically erotic and aquatic superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived. X-Men, X-Men, it's the day, X-Men, X-Men, coming your way. Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
Time Fugitives, parts 1 and 2, came out on December 11th and December 18th, 1993, respectively. Directed by Larry Houston and written by Michael Edens for part 1 and Elliot S. Maggin for part 2. In these episodes, Bishop returns from the future to again attempt to fix his world, but this time his actions lead up to a far greater tragedy occurring. To stabilize his own timeline, Cable comes to the present to prevent Bishop from saving mutant kind from Apocalypse's plague. Guest cast for this one, we got Philip Atkin as Bishop, Lawrence Bain as Cable, John Colicos as Apocalypse, John Stalker as Graydon Creed Sr., and Mark Strange as Forge. Getting into the trivia for this one, we've got Wolverine refers to Bishop as Old Scarface during the anti-mutant mob attack. The M on Bishop's face is actually a tattoo to identify him as a mutant in the future. The robots Cable is fighting in the future resemble the T-800 from the Terminator movies.
They do.
It also sees everything in the color red with a computer readout on its HUD. The hospital patient list is made up of crew members or their families. Alexandra Fierro, Frank Squillis, and Emmett Houston, Lucille Brown, Angel Pollard, Adrian Houston, who's supposed to be the infected store clerk from Emmett's electronics store, Mark Lewis, Brendan Thomas, Larry Houston, Greg Garcia, Joe Brown, and Babes Battle.
Babes Battle.
That's what it says.
Okay.
During one of the dying mutants seen on Cable's screen is Ileana Rasputin, younger sister of X-Men character Colossus.
Your favorite.
In the comics, she died of the legacy virus, a disease similar to the plague featured in this episode. Apocalypse disguised himself as the anti-mutant scientist working for Creed and the Friends of Humanity, and is the one who actually created the virus.
Makes sense.
This is the second episode is the debut of Tyler, Cable's son. Wolverine's mutant healing powers, curing him from the virus, is similar to the vaccine. And when Cable's computer is going over the X-Men roster, he mentioned that he knows all about Cyclops and Jean Grey. This is because Cable is the future son of Cyclops and Jean.
Bum, bum.
Which every X-Men fan worth their salt knows that.
Yeah. Unless you're walking in this blind. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's our... Also, Iron Man and Nathan Fury.
Yeah.
And it was War Machine. It wasn't
War
Iron
Machine.
Man. War Machine and and Fury Agent of Shield.
Really?
It's not the Samuel L. Jackson version because this is before they made that version.
Right.
And I do mean the Ultimate version by that, not because that's they literally based them on. This is literally the old white guy is in this episode for a hot second. I remember thinking
Hasselhoff.
The thing is, I had to hit pause while I was watching it because I was like, "Is that Iron Man? Why is he purple?" Because he looked purple in this shot. It didn't occur to me that was actually War Machine.
Yeah, that was War Machine.
But then I paused and I go, "Hang on, that's Nick Fury, Agent of Shield." The original Nick Fury, not Nick Fury Jr. But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What are your thoughts on this episode?
My thoughts is like, okay.
Episodes.
So Cable is reintroduced as a character.
Yeah. Still don't know why there's two Cables running around.
Why are there two Cables? Why?
I really
makes no sense.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't know how the rest of X-Men 92, as it's easier to call it that now, goes, if it ever explains why Cable shows up twice. But I hope if it doesn't, that in X-Men 97, Cable shows back up and he has to time travel through the events of the first series, and that's why we saw him in season 1.
So here's the thing. It's
and
like
the thing is, no one recognizes Cable.
But they do actually. They do. They do
but
recognize
Cable doesn't
them.
recognize them,
which is like, what the?
It's like,
oh, Cable, what are you doing here? It's like, he's like, who?
I'm a time traveler from the future. No, you're a mercenary from Genosha.
I'd be like, are there just two of you? Is there a part, or is it a Back to the Future thing where you're stuck? There's a party that's stuck in the past. You don't realize you're stuck in the past.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
But yes, but like this is an interesting story because there again, it takes this idea of like taking an event from a different perspective. And Cable having to do the worst thing ever. He has to help Apocalypse in order to save his own future, which is worse.
Which at the same time, he finds a way around that because Deus Ex Wolverine powers.
Yeah, Deus Ex Wolverine powers. Wolverine can do anything.
Yeah.
He can cure a plague.
Okay, let's talk about that plague right quick. We just lived through a plague. By all technical accounts.
Yeah.
And
thanks, COVID.
Yeah, thanks, COVID. And so looking at that virus that they showed on the microscope, did that virus seem a little more mechanical to you than it should have?
Very mechanical.
Nanobot machines, probably more than anything else. A little bit. Going, that's not a virus. You're literally infecting them with a computer virus. Did you all just hear that term and thought, let's do that?
Yeah. Well, I know at the time in the comics they were doing like Plaxis or something like as a villain that was kind of like that in a way, because that was like one of the very first early comics that Joe Madureira was doing the art for X-Men. So I'm assuming they're basing that off that.
Probably.
But there's so much of where there's the Friends of Humanity, their spokes idiot. Is claiming that mutants brought this. And
don't forget, their spokes idiot is the father of Sabretooth.
That is true. Spoiler:
they've not touched on that at all.
No, they haven't, but they will later. I remember that.
They have to. They look alike.
They do look alike. So here's the thing that made no sense to me. Like the first I'm going through like part 1 going into the 2 is that Creed tries to infect Beast tries to infect Beast. Bishop obviously jumps in, and then he infects himself. And it's like, okay, he goes to the hospital. Be like, people are around him. They're probably checking on him, and he's screaming, "Oh, this bloody mutant did this," and blah 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 blah. I'm sick. Be like, the mutants did this. Like, they would find the vial on your person when they're checking you. It's like, what's this?
Are you talking about when they're at the bottom of that mansion in the basement?
No. Like when Creed is going to try to sneakingly infect Beast with the virus, and Bishop goes in and wrestles him to the ground.
Right.
He injects himself with it. And it's like, to me, it's just like, okay, you either you're going to the hospital, people are checking on you, they would find that vial on your person, and you're claiming the mutants did it, but they found a vial that has this virus on it. Doesn't affect humans, but it does affect humans.
It affects humans.
If it doesn't affect
It's just not
mutants
infected a mutant yet.
Yeah, which
but
makes
it
no
doesn't
sense.
doesn't become an issue until it affects mutants, unless that mutant apparently is Wolverine, because he can cure it faster than
but
everyone else.
it's
going, how did you not know this? He could have, even if he got infected later, his antibodies would have
very easily
still generated that, and
that
still
made no
could have been
sense.
gone. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey. Moving on.
That is true.
You're not supposed to think about it. It's that hard.
Yeah. So when a Bishop goes back in time, be like, who's the X-Men? It's like, what? The X-Men are gone? Or correction, when Bishop goes back to his
his future, it's a good future.
Yeah.
But now there's a plague.
There's a plague and no X-Men.
And the guy doesn't even know about what the plague is. Like, after Senator Kelly's assassination attempt was foiled, and he became pro-mutant. This virus didn't have anyone. It somehow eradicated the mutant gene.
Yeah,
it's like,
and it destroyed the X-Men,
and somehow destroyed the X-Men. It's like,
okay, timey-wimey.
But yet, okay, here's the thing: Bishop's time is what, 2012? No, it's like 2000. It's like 20. It's like within the next 100 years.
Yeah,
from the X-Men stuff. Whereas Cable is from the year 3099.
Something like that.
3999, something like that. He's near the year 4000. Cable's future did not change with the death of Senator Kelly.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's just literally, here's our big plot point we want to try to get into, and we got to try to mingle these two stories together, which don't really work.
They tried.
They tried, and it was
it's not a bad episode. Don't get me wrong, but it's just so like, we got to do this weird thing. Please don't think about it too hard. You're kids. Don't think about it too hard.
Kids, you're not thinking about it as hard. As an adult who's a reviewer, you're thinking about it way too hard.
Okay, hang on. No, you got to make this work. It's like, and then how over the course of 2,000 years did you not solve the plague already?
Yeah.
Was it mutating faster than you could do anything about it? And if so, where's Wolverine? We know he had to have survived at least until long enough to get infected.
Survived in another timeline too.
Except, because that's still his skeleton in the lab. And so he at least survived to get turned into an animanium skeleton in Goober's lab.
Yeah,
Forge's lab. Yeah.
Like, what the crap? It's like you so you couldn't pull the genes from Wolverine's skeleton.
Well, I mean, that part makes sense because we don't even know if Wolverine's actual skeleton is in there, if that's just the animanium plated bones. Like, we don't know if the bones are actually in the animanium.
Yeah, they could be.
You assume it is.
Yeah,
but at the same time, this is at the point now where Wolverine probably could regenerate as long as an atom of him survives.
Oh, here's the funny part of that one, because you see his skull and it's got his little horns on it. I'm like, that's not his skull, people. That's his helm. That's his little.
At the very least, it's his hair.
It's his hair
when he doesn't have the mask on.
Yeah, but
so
it's part of his skull now. Is that part of his mutant gene, where it's like, I've got hair coming out of my skull that looks like a helmet, but nuance? Like, it's one of those episodes you don't want to try to think too hard. But if you're any kind of nerd or someone who likes to overthink things,
the problem is
drive you nuts.
The problem is it opens the door by being a time travel episode.
Yes,
and they don't have their time travel logistics down as well as it should be.
Yes,
because that's the problem. Anytime you deal with time travel, is you've got to cover up the plot holes so well, you have to uncover them with a metal detector, basically. They can't be this visible, but they're this visible because Saban was a cheap company at the time.
True.
And Marvel barely was doing anything. And we're lucky we got a good show out of this in the first place.
That's true. And it lasted what, 5 seasons?
5 seasons, yeah.
5 seasons.
Plus we get a crossover later on with Spider-Man.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Interesting show. You just don't want to think about it too hard.
Right.
Otherwise, it'll make your head hurt.
Indeed.
or make the adamantium in your skull melt.
Granted, I did like the way they figured it up, where it's like, oh yeah, there's one person who this can actually work with, and it made sense.
Yeah, it made sense.
You do have to wonder why no one else thought of that.
Yeah, it's there
and why it didn't happen naturally. How badly did it mutate before it get to Wolverine the first time?
Mm-hmm.
Did Wolverine die before he could get infected before?
That's true.
You're not supposed to think about it this hard, but yeah. Anyway,
anyways, good episodes. Just don't think about it too hard.
Right.
So what's next?
Next time, we'll be looking at A Rogue's Tale. I'm assuming based on Rogue, and Beauty and the Beast.
Ah. So who's the Beauty? We obviously know who the Beast is. It's Gambit. Gambit's the Beast.
Gambit's the Beast. Beast isn't the Beast. We already had.
Maybe it's a Wolverine story. Who knows?
We already had the Gambit-centric episode and the Wolverine-centric episode. I'm wondering if in A Rogue's Tale we might see Carol Danvers.
Ooh, that might be a good. Yeah, might.
But anyway, we will find out next week with maybe a special guest. You got anything to add before we cut out of here?
No. But yeah, I'm looking forward to
our first live action movie since we left another podcast.
Exactly. Well, correction.
We have been guested on other stuff.
Yeah, and we have done Cellcast Plus before.
Yes.
And has those been released yet?
They've not been released to the public.
Oh, okay.
The patrons have a couple of them.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we have done a few Cellcast Plus. Obviously, our lovely patrons have a few of them. Some of that have not been released yet.
Because I just didn't get around to them, and that's why we're moving them to a normal episode, because it's easier for me to get those edited that way.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah, because that's the thing. Unless it's a reaction episode, it's not a turn around and drop it.
Yeah.
Like reaction episodes are.
Very true.
With minimal editing. I try to do the list a little bit more editing on regular episodes. But anyway, join us next week for Glass Onion.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, this is Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
Follow You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day.
That's right.
His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming, on YouTube at Cellcast, on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
Anything.
I hope that this is the last time I have to do it. Have a toxic bath, because that was sticky. It gets everywhere. It takes a while to get through it. It's just like it's just
okay. That's far more information than anyone wants to know.
Yeah, Those. Yeah, you don't want to know. It smells.